The shuttle's engines hummed softly as Captain Ethan Ward guided it through the swirling clouds of an uncharted planet. The view outside was unlike anything he had ever seen in his career as a human explorer. Towering trees with glowing leaves stretched toward a violet sky, and rivers of silver mist wound between strange, jagged rocks. For a moment he allowed himself to marvel at the beauty, forgetting the mission, the regulations, and the constant reminder from the fleet that danger could be lurking in every corner. Ethan landed in a small clearing near a cluster of luminous plants. The soft vibrations of the shuttle settling into the soil resonated through the floor. He unbuckled himself and checked his equipment one last time: scanner, medkit, energy rifle, and his portable communicator. Everything was in place. The planet had not been mapped before, and there was no guarantee it was safe. Yet the thrill of discovery, of being the first human to set foot here, pulsed through him. As he stepped out, the cool air wrapped around him, thick with moisture and a strange, sweet scent. He moved cautiously, scanning the area. His boots sank slightly into the soft ground, leaving perfect human footprints behind. The silence was profound, only broken by the distant rustle of leaves and the faint, almost musical calls of unseen creatures. Then he heard it, a soft, muffled sound. At first he thought it was the wind, but it carried a rhythm, a hint of urgency. He froze, listening. There it was again, clearer this time, a sound of someone crying. Ethan's heart quickened. It was unusual to hear sentient life on a newly discovered planet. With careful steps, he followed the sound through thick foliage, moving toward a faint bluish glow in the mist. As he approached, the trees parted, revealing a small clearing where he saw her. She was unlike any creature he had seen. Her skin shimmered with silver patterns that seemed to move like liquid, and her hair fell in silken strands that glowed faintly in the dim light. She was crouched on the ground, trembling, her large eyes wide and filled with tears. She clutched her arms tightly to herself, as if trying to hold herself together. Ethan instinctively approached slowly, keeping his hands visible. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said softly. His voice sounded strange even to him in the thick, humid air. The alien woman turned her tear-streaked face toward him. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Instead, she made a sound that was more of a sob, shaking her head frantically. Ethan noticed that she was injured, burn marks along her arms and shoulders, probably from some kind of energy weapon. He crouched down at a safe distance, speaking in calm tones. "It's okay. I can help you." She looked at him, hesitation in her eyes, then suddenly clung to him. Ethan was taken aback by the suddenness, but he did not pull away. Her body was fragile, and her sobs shook his chest as he carefully guided her to sit down. He opened his medkit, working quickly to assess her injuries. The burns were not deep enough to be fatal, but they would worsen without treatment. "Can you tell me what happened?" he asked gently, cleaning a wound on her shoulder. Her voice came out in broken galactic common, a language used by explorers and traders across many systems. "Attack! Colony, taken, gone." She buried her face against his shoulder, crying harder. Ethan tried to piece together the fragments. She had survived some kind of assault. The colony she belonged to had been destroyed. Ethan's mind raced. A destroyed colony could mean a local conflict, a raiding faction, or even interstellar pirates. Whatever it was, it had left her alone and terrified. He needed more information. "I can help you. We'll figure this out together," he said firmly. His confidence seemed to soothe her even just a little. She clung tighter, her small hands trembling. He worked carefully, applying healing gel to her burns and bandaging them. Her skin seemed to react strangely to the medicine, glowing faintly where it touched, almost as if it was absorbing the treatment. Fascinated, Ethan realized her physiology was advanced, fragile but capable of remarkable recovery. When he finished, she finally lifted her face and looked at him. Her large eyes were wet with tears, but there was also a flicker of trust. "Name, Lyra," she whispered. "Ethan, I'm Captain Ethan Ward," he replied. He knew that names were important, a sign of recognition and respect across species. Lyra's story emerged slowly. She explained that her colony had been guarding a powerful energy source, a relic from their ancestors, essential to the planet's balance. A hostile faction had attacked suddenly, overwhelming her people with advanced weapons. Most of her colony had been killed or captured. She had escaped in the chaos, hiding in the forest, terrified and unsure if anyone else had survived. Ethan was stunned. Not only had he stumbled upon life on an uncharted planet, but he had also discovered a story of tragedy and desperation. He realized the importance of her words. The energy source she spoke of could have implications far beyond this world. If it fell into the wrong hands, it might endanger not just her planet but nearby systems as well. Night began to fall, the forest transforming as bioluminescent plants lit up in waves of soft, calming colors. Ethan decided they needed shelter. Using his portable scanner, he found a cave nearby that appeared safe and uninhabited. He guided Lyra there carefully, supporting her as she moved. Inside the cave, the air was cool and dry, a relief after the damp forest. Ethan set up a small camp, arranging portable lights and preparing a modest meal. Lyra sat quietly, still trembling but no longer sobbing uncontrollably. She watched him with a mixture of fear and curiosity, her silver-patterned skin glowing softly in the dim light. Ethan began to ask more questions, careful not to push her too hard. He learned about her people's abilities, heightened senses, agility far beyond human capacity, and a connection to the planet that allowed them to sense energy flows. He realized that her civilization, though small, was highly intelligent and deeply connected to their environment. "You trust me?" he asked gently, watching her hesitate. Lyra nodded slowly. She had no other choice, and something in his demeanor, the calm confidence, the compassion, had earned her trust. She explained that she had clung to him when they first met, because she had seen humans in records and heard stories, but never believed them capable of bravery and compassion. In that moment, her survival instincts had led her to cling to the one being who seemed to care, even if she didn't fully understand him. Ethan was struck by the depth of her emotion. Humans often underestimated their own qualities in the galaxy. Courage, empathy, and ingenuity. These traits could inspire trust across species. He realized that helping Lyra was not just an act of kindness, but also a chance to prove that humanity had value in a wider, often hostile universe. The first night passed without incident. Ethan kept watch while Lyra slept, her head resting against his arm. The bond between them deepened, quiet but undeniable. Outside, the forest hummed with life, the strange creatures moving under the glowing foliage, unaware of the fragile human and alien alliance forming in the cave. By morning, Ethan had a plan. They would need to navigate the forest carefully, avoid patrols of the hostile faction, and possibly recover the energy source before it was lost forever. But for now, they had survived the first night. And in the process, Ethan had learned something invaluable. Bravery is not measured in weapons or technology, but in the willingness to protect others, even at great risk. Lyra's tears had shown him the weight of loss, fear, and hope all at once. And he knew, deep down, that their journey together was only beginning. The forest beyond the cave awaited, filled with dangers and discoveries, and Ethan was ready to face them. For the first time in a long while, he felt truly alive, not just as an explorer, but as a protector, a human who could make a difference in a galaxy full of unknowns. As they prepared to move deeper into the forest, Lyra looked up at him, her silver-patterned skin glowing softly in the dawn light. She spoke a single word, full of trust and tentative hope. "Together." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her word, and for the first time, he realized that humanity's greatest strength might not be in its ships, weapons, or technology. It was in its heart, and with that, they stepped into the unknown. Ethan and Lyra moved carefully through the glowing forest, each step measured and quiet. The mist wrapped around them like a living veil, soft and damp, hiding the shadows that might harbor danger. Ethan kept his energy rifle at the ready, though he hoped they would not encounter any hostile creatures. Lyra moved lightly beside him, her lithe form almost blending with the shimmer of the bioluminescent plants. As they navigated the dense forest, Ethan began to understand the full extent of Lyra's abilities. She could sense the faint energy currents running through the planet, a network of invisible threads that told her when danger was near. Her eyes scanned the environment constantly, spotting subtle movements that he would have missed entirely. She guided him past hidden pits, tangled roots, and the occasional predatory creature that slithered or leapt through the foliage. After several hours, they reached the outskirts of her destroyed colony. The sight was worse than Ethan had imagined. Buildings of crystal-like material were shattered, glowing fragments scattered across the ground. Fires smoldered in some corners, sending up trails of silver smoke. The energy core, the source of her people's power and the planet's balance, had been removed, likely taken by the attacking faction. Lyra's sobs returned as she took in the scene. Ethan placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "We'll fix this," he said, trying to sound confident, though the task ahead seemed impossible. "We'll get your people's power back. We'll make sure it's safe." Her trembling slowed, and she looked up at him with wide, tear-streaked eyes. "You humans?" she asked. "Strong." Ethan smiled softly. "We can be," he said, "especially when we protect others." They camped at the edge of the ruins for the night, hiding in a small natural alcove. As darkness fell, Ethan considered their plan. The enemy faction was highly organized and armed with advanced technology, but humans had something many of their opponents lacked: creativity and unpredictability. They would need stealth, courage, and clever thinking to retrieve the energy core. The next morning, Lyra guided Ethan along narrow paths, invisible to anyone who did not know the terrain. They reached the enemy base, a cluster of sleek metallic structures surrounded by guards and scanning drones. Ethan studied the layout carefully, noticing patrol patterns and weak points in the security. Lyra whispered instructions in broken galactic common, pointing out blind spots and areas where the energy signature of the core might be detected. Ethan marveled at her knowledge. Despite the recent tragedy, she had a calm precision in guiding him, a deep understanding of strategy and survival. He realized humans and her species, though different, could complement each other perfectly. Her agility and knowledge combined with his reasoning and tools could make them unstoppable. They waited until nightfall, the silver light of the planet's twin moons casting shadows across the base. Moving silently, they approached the perimeter, staying low among the glowing plants. Lyra's skin shimmered faintly in the darkness, but she used it to their advantage, blending with the light and shadow. Ethan followed her lead, feeling a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. Inside the base, they found the energy core, a pulsating orb of radiant light suspended in a containment field. Guards were stationed around it and drones hovered nearby. Ethan motioned to Lyra and she nodded, her expression determined. Using a combination of agility and clever diversion, Lyra created small distractions, drawing the guards away from the core. Ethan, with steady hands, manipulated the field controls and deactivated the containment. As they retrieved the core, an alarm suddenly blared. Red lights flashed and the hum of the base intensified. They had been discovered. Ethan's mind raced. They could not fight their way out against so many enemies, but retreating now would be just as dangerous. Lyra whispered quickly, "Follow me, fast." They sprinted through corridors, avoiding laser blasts and security drones. Ethan marveled at Lyra's speed and precision. She moved like a shadow, barely touching the ground, and guided him through the safest paths. They burst out into the open just as enemy reinforcements arrived. Ethan raised his rifle, but Lyra stopped him. "No, noise. Follow me," she urged. Using the forest to their advantage, they ducked behind glowing plants and moved silently. The energy core's light pulsed steadily, guiding their way. Ethan realized that the planet itself seemed to respond to Lyra, as if the forest recognized her and aided them. It was astonishing. Life on this planet was interconnected in ways humans could barely comprehend. Hours later, exhausted but triumphant, they reached a hidden chamber deep in the forest, a natural sanctuary protected by energy flows only Lyra could sense. Ethan placed the core carefully on a pedestal, watching as it resonated with the planet. The forest seemed to breathe, glowing brighter, and a soft warmth filled the air. Lyra's tears returned, but this time they were tears of relief and gratitude. She clung to Ethan, and he held her gently, understanding the depth of her emotions. "Thank you," she whispered. "You saved my world." Ethan shook his head. "No, we did this together. You showed me the way. Your courage, your knowledge, it guided me. Humans alone could not have done this." She looked up at him, her eyes wide and shining. "Why, care? Human." Ethan smiled softly. "Because doing the right thing is worth it. Because helping others, that's what makes us strong." For the first time, Lyra laughed softly, a melodic sound that seemed to blend with the hum of the forest. She looked around at the restored energy core, the vibrant plants, and the peaceful surroundings. The devastation of her colony was still a memory, but hope had returned. Ethan realized that humanity's value in the galaxy was not measured by weapons or technology, but by the ability to inspire trust, protect the vulnerable, and act with courage when it mattered most. Lyra's trust had shown him that, and in return he had demonstrated that humans could be allies, friends, and heroes across species. They spent the night in the sanctuary, resting and recovering. Lyra shared stories of her people, their history, and their connection to the planet. Ethan listened intently, fascinated by the richness of her culture. He learned that her tears, her clinging to him in fear, had been a recognition of something rare, a being willing to act selflessly without expectation, and with genuine courage. By morning, the forest was calm. Birds with glowing feathers sang their morning songs, and streams of light danced across the ground. Ethan and Lyra stood side by side, looking toward the horizon. The energy core was safe, the planet beginning to heal, and a bond had formed between human and alien that could never be broken. Lyra looked at him with something more than gratitude, something deeper, a recognition of shared purpose and trust. "You special, human," she said softly. Ethan smiled, feeling the weight of her words. "We all have the potential," he replied. "Sometimes it just takes the right moment, the right choice to show it." Together they made their way back to the edge of the forest, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy might bring. The hostile faction could still be out there. The universe was still dangerous, but for now, they had proven something vital. Courage, compassion, and cleverness could overcome even the most daunting obstacles. Lyra held the energy core carefully, watching it pulse with life. Ethan walked beside her, feeling a sense of pride and humility. Humanity had found a place in the galaxy, not just through conquest or strength, but through heart, trust, and bravery. As they reached a hill overlooking the forest, Ethan and Lyra paused. The twin moons bathed the land in silver light, and the stars sparkled like diamonds. For the first time since the attack on her colony, Lyra smiled without tears. She turned to him and said, "You saved everything." Ethan shook his head. "No, we saved everything, together." And with that, they looked to the stars, knowing that their journey had only begun. A new alliance had formed, one that bridged species and worlds. Humanity's role in the galaxy was not just to explore, but to protect, to inspire, and to act with courage when it mattered most. In the quiet of the forest, with the energy core glowing softly and Lyra by his side, Ethan understood that the future was uncertain, full of challenges, but also full of hope. And in that hope, he found his purpose, not just as a human, but as a hero, an ally and a friend to a world beyond his own.